العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. For those of you who have been listening to today's recitation and yesterday's recitation, you would know Surah Yusuf has begun. Surah Yusuf is one of those most beautiful surahs of the entire story of a prophet told in one go. The background to this particular surah is very beautiful. In Mecca, when the Muslims were taunted by the disbelievers, the Quraysh, the Meccans, anyone else who did not become Muslim, constantly taunting the Muslims, saying, yeah, what is it this your Prophet Muhammad is talking about, or your Prophet is talking about? He says one line here and then two lines over there, half a story here and half a story there. What's going on? Doesn't he know how to tell a story properly? We're taunting. So the companions of the Prophet of Allah came and said, Ya Rasulullah, please tell us a whole story, a beautiful story, a complete story. And at the beginning of Mecca, early part of Mecca, Surah Yusuf was revealed. The whole surah was revealed in one go. In fact, so bewildering this experience for the disbelievers were, they were astonished. What is going on? Muhammad is telling the whole story of Yusuf. So they went straight to the rabbis, the Jewish scholars of their time, asking them, have you heard this? Have you heard that? And when the Jewish rabbis heard the story of Yusuf from the Quranic perspective, they themselves were alarmed and shocked. What? How did Muhammad know all the details of Yusuf when we don't even know some of these details? We have never taught you guys about Yusuf. How does he know? In itself was a miracle for people who thought and people who used their brain. My dear brothers and sisters, that's why in Surah Yusuf, a particular verse that catches my attention, not the surah itself, not the story itself, but this verse. لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي يُوسُفَ وَإِخْوَتِهِ آيَاتٌ لِلسَّائِلِينَ. Indeed, in the story of Yusuf and his brothers, there are messages for those who think and seek and ask questions. Sa'ilin means those who ask questions. Think about it. Allah is saying, in Yusuf and his brothers, in their story, there are lessons for those who ask questions. Not silly questions, serious questions. Those who search the truth. Those who look deep into and delve into the depth of the surah in more details than just a story. As the Imam was reciting, I couldn't stop myself but welling up in listening to each and every cliffhanger of the story. Each turns and twists of that story brings you almost, you can visualize what's going on in Yusuf's life. Young Yusuf, at very young age, is being betrayed by his brothers, same family. His father warns him before when he sees the dream. Don't tell your brothers about the dream. And the father says, in case they harm you. My brothers and sisters, exactly that's what happens. They intend to harm him. They throw him in the well. In the depth of the well, he's left behind, betrayed by his own brothers. Family betrayal is the most hurtful thing that you can ever imagine. It happens to many of us in our families. It happens in even the families of Prophet ﷺ. In our own Prophet ﷺ, you see his own uncles, his own cousins did not become Muslim, conspired to harm him, attack him, destroy him. Of course, his uncle Abu Talib was an exception who stood by him and protected him. So we learn from the Quran that Allah Azza wa Jal can protect anyone He wants, but His prophets were not immune from tests and trials. How old was Yusuf, do you think, when he was thrown in the depth of the well? He was probably 5, 6, at best 7, even younger. Most scholars say he was young, very young. Can you imagine? I'm just thinking about my own son and my own daughter. Can I imagine them being thrown in the depth of a well? Can you imagine that well, if he had fallen in the well, at the bottom of the well there was an animal, wild animal, a snake, scorpions, other animals who could have harmed Yusuf ﷺ, but Allah protects him. Then somebody passing by picks him up and takes him to Egypt and sells him into captivity. And he becomes a slave into a family of the king. Allah takes him from the depth of his father's love and affection and protection, betrayed by his brothers, into the depth of a well, and from there Allah picks him up and takes him to life of slavery, but in the house of the king, in the house of Al-Aziz, the prime minister or the king, whatever you want to call him. He is the chief minister of Egypt. Yusuf ﷺ grows up in the home, learning about the intricate details of how government is run, functions, how wealth is spread, how a country's economy is run. He learns about politics and state. And then he's put to a test when the very wife of Al-Aziz tempts him, tries to seduce him, and Yusuf flees and protects himself. And accusation is levied against him. He is then thrown in the depth of the prison, and he stays in the prison until the king sees a dream. The king sees a dream. When king sends somebody, a messenger, to come and say to Yusuf, Yusuf, come out, come out. Yusuf says, no, I'm not coming out. Tell the king to exonerate me first before I come out. Tell the king to clarify my position first. So what's the situation? The king hears the briefing. Yusuf says, ask those ladies who tried to conspire together to accuse me of ill-doing. Ask them. And when the king asks, Al-Aziz's wife confesses, saying, Yusuf is innocent, I am the guilty one. And she asks Allah to forgive her. Allah exonerates Yusuf ﷺ from the depth of the prison. And Allah had given him the knowledge of those that you and I don't ordinarily have the knowledge of. How to interpret dreams, how to have the insight and wisdom that we don't know. Yusuf ﷺ then assumes the power of the state, and through which he manages the affair of Egypt, manages the economy from the times of prosperity. He saves up for the times of adversity, and he becomes well known as a good finance minister. His own family resort to him for help and support when they're in trouble. And they travel all the way from Palestine to come to Yusuf. And Yusuf's and his brother's story is again unfolded. And I'm not going to tell you the details. But one twist after another, he and his father is united again, eventually. And before he unites, Yusuf a.s.'s father, who had cried out of the grief of losing his son, he had lost his vision in that process. And Yusuf sends his shirt, his qamis, back to his father. And his father says, I can smell Yusuf in the air. Allahu Akbar. I can imagine how the father would have felt. So I can smell Yusuf coming in my direction. He could smell Yusuf's presence. Allah gave him that insight. What a powerful union again. Allah exonerates Yusuf, unites his brothers, and Yusuf a.s. forgives his brothers, forgives them. And he asks his father to ask Allah to forgive them because his father is the Prophet. And he asks Allah to forgive them too. And he says to his father, my father, remember the dream I told you about? This is the reality of the dream. This is the reality of the dream that I told you. All of this drama would happen and you will unite with me again. Allah has taught you and I a lesson. My brothers and sisters, one of the key lessons of Surah Yusuf is family betrayal, but we must be patient. We'll be tested and tried, we must be patient. We could be enslaved, we could be in captivity, we could be in prison, we must be patient. We could be put behind bars and we could be accused of all sorts of crime, we must be patient. Allah will exonerate us. Until Allah exonerates us, we should be patient. We will lose our families, we'll see the drama playing out in full from our families, we should be patient. If you're patient, Allah will give you the success of this dunya and in the hereafter, like He did with Yusuf a.s. What a powerful way to show you life and its twists and turns. I'm giving you the summary of Surah Yusuf on an 8-minute summary. I normally do a course on this for a whole week, for a month almost. You can do each verse and expand on this and learn. There are books upon books have been written about it. My dear brothers and sisters, learn about the story of Yusuf. You learn about resilience. You learn about strength. You learn about patience. You learn about drama. You learn about betrayal. But you learn about forgiveness. And you learn about unity and togetherness. How all of these are part and parcel of life. And we must go through them all to become stronger and more powerful. May Allah forgive us all. May Allah keep us united. And may Allah enable all of us to learn from the story of Yusuf alayhi salam. Wa akhir da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. My brothers and sisters, our